Come along as we investigate the elusive, often misunderstood, mysterious people of the Great White North. Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 stereotypes of Canada. Before we begin, we publish new videos every day, so be sure to subscribe for more great content. For this list, we're looking at the most popular myths and most widespread stereotypes about Canada and Canadians. This is all in good fun, of course. So if you don't like it, take off, hoser.
Well, after you get some free penicillin compliments of the Socialist Republic of Canada...
Wait, really?
Number 10. Canadians live off of Tim Hortons.
Here I am, in the most Canadian place in the universe, Tim Hortons, around the corner from the Hockey Hall of Fame.
Geez, you get one big coffee franchise in your country and the whole world starts thinking it's your primary source of sustenance. It's true, few chains are more prolific in the Great White North than Tim Hortons. As of 2013, Canada's homegrown coffee franchise had over 3,000 locations nationwide, more than double the 1,400 McDonald's franchises in the country in 2014. But while Tim's reigns supreme when it comes to double-doubles, ice caps, bagels, and donuts, Canadians don't really go there for their meals. Even so, Timmy's is inextricably linked to Canadiana. After all, there's nothing more Canadian than a fast food restaurant founded by a hockey player.
Oh, you're nuttier than a Tim Hortons maple log. Timmy, help!
Number 9. All Canadians are or dress like lumberjacks. Canada's lumber industry is a big one, playing a major role in the country's economy. But they've kept up with technological advancements, and therefore very little actual axe swinging takes place. You likely have many machine operators and sawmill workers, but outside of lumberjack competitions, very few people employed in the logging industry would call themselves lumberjacks, unless they're trying to get laid. However, lumberjack fashion is a bit more of a gray area. We're all for the plaid shirts, cozy scarves, and well-worn jeans. Plus, lumber beards are great during those long Canadian winters. Bring on the lumbersexuals, eh? Number 8. All Canadian police officers wear Mountie uniforms.
Oh shit!
Royal Canadian Mounted Police, folks. Please have your passports and declaration forms out and ready.
On the subject of Canadian fashion, most cops in Canada dress similarly to their American counterparts. They're the boys and girls in blue. Sure, Dudley Do-Right was a Mountie and helped popularize that particular garb, but he's far from representative of law enforcement across the nation. The baggy on top, straight at the bottom dark blue pants, called jodhpurs, bright red jacket, and campaign hat are only worn by the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, or Mounties for short. And even then, Mounties only wear this outfit, known as the Red Surge, on formal occasions. As you can imagine, it's not the ideal crime-fighting outfit. For day-to-day operations, they sport much more conventional police attire.
Many of you are wondering what's wrong with my pants. Well, they started running short of material right before they got to the knees, so don't give me any shit.
Number 7. Canadians put maple syrup on everything.
I happen to know everything there is to know about maple syrup. I love maple syrup. I love maple syrup on pancakes. I love it on pizza. I like to take maple syrup and put a little bit in my hair when I've had a rough week. What do you think holds it up, Slick?
Maple syrup is delicious. Given that it comes from maple trees and that the maple leaf is the symbol of Canada, Canadians have no one to blame but themselves for this stereotype. The average Canadian probably wouldn't be caught dead putting pancake syrup on their flapjacks or waffles. That artificial stuff is pretty much sacrilege in syrup country. But most Canadians aren't taking shots of maple syrup and whiskey at the bar, or mixing it into their breakfast cereal either. Maple syrup is much more of a Quebec obsession than a Canada-wide one. But even in that province, tourists visiting from abroad are much more likely to abuse the sweet stuff than locals. Number 6. Canadians have pet polar bears, moose, and/or beavers.
Our characters had pet beavers.
Sure.
No. Contrary to popular belief, Canadians are not master exotic pet wranglers. Keeping a polar bear is like keeping a pet lion or tiger, as in, it's a terrible idea for the average individual, and the quickest route to the ER or morgue. Moose, which can grow up to 5 feet tall, weigh up to 1,600 pounds, and walk away from an accident with an SUV, would make equally terrible pets. Beavers are admittedly kinda cute, and sure, a few oddballs may keep one as a pet, but they're hardly common in households, and would likely wreak havoc on hardwood furniture. The average Canadian probably hasn't even seen many of these animals outside of a zoo. Number 5. Canadians live in igloos. This stereotype is a pretty outdated one. So hopefully the average non-Canadian person knows it's false. But to any remaining believers, you realize that Canadians have electricity, right? And cars and televisions and like skyscrapers and stuff. They also have a major lumber industry, meaning plenty of wood to build homes. Oh, Canada also gets a little season called summer, bringing with it all the usual summer fun like warm weather and a distinct lack of snow, the crucial ingredient needed to build an igloo. In short, the average Canadian does not live in an igloo, and has likely never even spent a night in one. Number 4. All Canadians play hockey.
President Obama just rightly recognized as being extraordinary contributors to the American success story is Jonathan Toews, Duncan Keith, and Patrick Shark of the Chicago Blackhawks.
To be fair, Canadians do kind of kill it when it comes to hockey. Despite the fact that American NHL franchises outnumber Canadian teams by more than 3-1, roughly half of the players in the National Hockey League are Canadian. We'd be lying if we said hockey isn't incredibly popular in Canada, and it is inseparably intertwined with the nation's cultural identity. The world's first recorded organized indoor hockey game took place in Montreal, a city that would go on to form what's considered the first official hockey club. However, kids in Canada play football more than hockey for the same reason football's so popular around the world. It's much more affordable and accessible.
And there's kids playing hockey on the back. It's like you want us to make fun of you.
Number 3. Canadians apologize way too much.
You apologize too much.
Sorry about that.
Wouldn't the world be a better place if this were true, not only in Canada but everywhere? Imagine a society where people always took responsibility for things rather than passing the buck. Sadly, this overly apologetic utopia remains a fantasy, even in Canada. Yes, Canadians do apologize a lot, often saying sorry instead of excuse me. If two Canadians bump into one another, they're both likely to apologize. But this tendency to constantly apologize, or the accompanying myth that all Canadians are super nice, is only limited to benign situations.
We're gonna put the boots to you. Sorry.
It's all right. We're gonna gouge your eyes out and kick your head in. Sorry.
Canadians still argue, have road rage, get into fights, and stubbornly refuse to apologize. Any visitors would do well to remember that. Sorry, but it's the truth.
Take off. Hoser.
Whoa.
That's it.
Hey.
Oh, scrap!
Guys, come on! For America!
Number 2. Canada is always cold.
Because I always got the same response. Canada? Wow. Must have been cold.
We already touched on this when setting the whole igloo thing straight, but Canada is not an eternally frigid wasteland of ice and snow.
Psycho man, what you smoking?
I'm not smoking, I'm breathing.
Yes, the sparsely populated far north is quite cold, like it literally reaches into the Arctic. And across the board, Canadian winters can result in many feet or centimeters of snow, as well as months upon months of sub-zero temperatures. But Canadian summers get plenty hot. The average high during the summer months in major Canadian cities like Montreal and Toronto reaches into the high 70s and low 80s, or for you Canadians out there, the high 20s and low 30s. No one's gonna call Canada a tropical paradise, but always cold is an unfair assessment of its weather. Number 1. All Canadians say a lot.
Oh, I see. Yeah, looks like you got some water leakage. You might need a hose, eh?
Jose, Roberto, whatever. If you got some Latinos up here that can fix cars, that'd be great.
No, I mean, it looks like you need a part, eh?
Well, yeah, when it's fixed, we can celebrate, but let's deal with first things first.
Some Canadians do say a quite often. But a quick tip for travelers. They don't find it interesting when you point it out. That's a great way to get punched by a Canadian, and then hear him or her not apologize. A is often used in the same context that Americans say huh or right at the end of a sentence as a way to invite a confirmation.
Stanley Cup. Game 6, eh? The Rangers are about to be sorry they ever played shinny with the Canucks.
It can also be used to replace pardon. In reality, many cultures have an equivalent interjection. In Canada, the use of a is very regional. Some populations use it frequently, others almost never. After all, Canada's a big country, eh?
Hey, I gonna spill the mustard on my favorite shirt.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out these other great clips from WatchMojo and subscribe for new videos every day.